Hey friends, Jill here, and welcome back to the Market Vibe podcast. I'm so excited to have Priscilla on the podcast as a guest today. Priscilla is a Dallas-based photographer, and she's incredibly talented. I got a chance to meet her at a conference recently, and I just wanted to hop on and chat with you because not only are you super skilled at your craft and you just tell such an amazing story with your photos, but she's also a super cool person. So you're welcome for introducing you to her.
I appreciate that intro.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people that might not know who you are, kind of tell us a little bit about like how you got started in photography and what's your journey really looked like to be here now, because you're 100% do this full time, right?
Yes, I do. Yes. And I'm my own boss, which a lot of people are like, oh, how do you do that? Okay. So hi, everyone. I'm Priscilla Dasilva. You said the name right. It kind of has a ring to it.
It does.
And I started photography when I was really little. I actually come from like a split family. And one of the things my dad got me before my parents separated was a digital camera. And like, maybe that's way I subconsciously like coped with it all, but like, I just became the person that like documented any like birthday party, any event with my friends. Like I was taking pictures of everything to the point that like all my friends were like, Priscilla has everything on our childhood. And then in high school, I was part of like a film crew, sort of say, where we like put on funny segments for our high school every Friday. And so that's where like honestly my journey to photography started with film. My first love was film. And so I ended up going to college for film. And then when I went to UT Arlington in Texas, and they require you to take art fundamentals. And throughout the art fundamentals, like I took photography classes, and that's where I really realized like obviously there's I will always have a love for film, but something about still images, I was like, wow, this is almost more simpler. Like with videos, you need a crew, but with photography, I could see myself like starting a business where I didn't have to rely on anyone. And coming from a single mom, that was like really important to me. And so I started doing photography freelance when I was still in college. And then just so happened my first job out of college was working for an influencer in Dallas. And that's where my career really blossomed and started. And basically that's where I feel like people started to know me because I worked there for a good long time, like 2 years. And then after I was ready to leave that job, because that was like my like stable income, from there I was able to start full time. So I started full time like or like just without having to work for anyone else around 19, the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, which is kind of scary because 2020 was so scary.
Yes, certainly.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of people feel this way, but like February 2020, right before lockdown, like my business was booming. Like everything was going great. I had stuff lined up, and then 2020 happened, and oh my gosh, what an experience. But wouldn't trade my career for anything. I love being my own boss. And primarily now I specialize in family and maternity. Those are like my bread and butter. That's what I want to be known for in photography.
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. Well, and like, I think it's really special that you had that foresight at such a young age, because I didn't even think about that until way after college, like after my quarter life crisis at 25. That is when I started thinking about it, because I was like, geez, I'm spending like all my time working for somebody else, but I feel like I'm spinning my wheels and not moving forward. So how cool that you had that idea in college. And I think that's really special. One, you also do a lot of conference photography. That's where we met. We met at a conference. We were on the same team. We were doing the socials. Priscilla was doing the photography. And so like, that was really cool too, that you can really diversify yourself as a photographer. You don't have to be so enclosed into one area, but you have now the freedom to choose what you want to do, which is maternity and family.
Yeah, that's so true. I do love that I have that flexibility, because like people will be like, so what is your, how often do you work? And I'm like, that's a hard question, because it really depends on the time of year. Because obviously holiday season, like everyone wants family photos. So that's going to be a bulk of my income. But then I work with eWoman Network a lot. And they hire me for a lot of really cool events that are actually really inspiring. That's one of my like benefits of my job, just like getting to travel, doing what I love. for sure. And
Yeah.
to answer your question, or to answer like why I had that idea, I didn't realize till later in life, but both of my parents are also freelancers.
Oh,
And so
okay.
I should have seen this coming.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's funny how you grow up. And for me, I always wanted to be better than my parents. I was like, I got to do better because like my mom cleans houses and then my dad's a carpenter. He builds houses. So I was like, I'm going to do something different. And then one day it occurred to me, like, I'm just like them. I make my own schedule. I'm my own boss. Like, meant to be. It was meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you had that. I mean, your upbringing gave you that idea like, oh, I can make my own schedule, I can do my own thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's really special. One story that I do want you to share that you told me at conference, I thought was such a good story because I asked you like, what was like one of the highlights of your career? And it was the story about being flown out. Can you tell that story?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that story is pretty cool.
Yes. So yeah, this was right before lockdown. Um, yeah, and it was my birthday month too. But basically, I was the first time that I'd been like a company had paid for my flight as well and for my hotel, and I was gonna make like income on the actual video that I was making for them. Because you know, a lot of companies try to be like, I'll pay for your travel, but it just depends. Anyways, and so I just remember getting off the plane and getting my bags, and there was a guy with my name, like holding my name on a placard like you've seen before when you're at the airport, but it's never you. And it
Yeah.
was such a beautiful moment for it to be me. And I remember getting in the car and being like, what? It was like the nicest car I'd ever been in. I remember I could control the AC from the back, and like there was just so many buttons. And I just felt like on top of the world. And then I got to stay at a really nice hotel in Orange County, California. Like the views were incredible. That was definitely one of the highlights of my career for sure. And then I got to make a really beautiful highlight video of a women's conference. I guess if I hadn't said before, I also do videography. I know I briefly mentioned earlier that I was a film major, but I also do videos, not just photography. And that's also really cool. That's something I want to do more of next year.
Yeah, we talked about we want you to do our website video.
Yes.
We're actually let's talk. We're going to come back to Dallas and like actually and Texas and actually see Texas because we were working a lot. But yeah, well, so let's dive into. I want to talk about. So you said you have just a love of still photography, and I have a little knowledge. My dad was just photographer for fun, super talented, really beautiful eye, and kind of talk about like what is the power of an image and then how does it now kind of relate to the world that we're in that's like moving more toward video. Where do you see the future of photo being?
Okay, yeah, I love the question. So as far as like the power of a still image, people listening will understand if this has happened for them, but like there's these moments where I know it's happened to me where a photographer took a picture of me and I see the picture and I'm like, oh my God, they captured who I feel that I am on the inside and how I portray myself on the outside. I think there's like nothing more powerful than that. And then I could get really into just like I get really nerdy about the fact that like I'm documenting someone in a moment that will never happen again. Like I'm taking a picture of you and right now it might mean maybe some to you, but maybe not too much. But then like 10 years from now, like that picture will have so much significance. I think that's why I love doing family photos so much is because it's like such a fleeting, unique time, special time with like when children are young, where like the what is the word I'm looking for? The age of imagination, and like where you get to like almost like grow up again with your kids. And I love being able to document that for families because how many of us look at old pictures and just like, the good times or like when we're innocent. And I love that I'm documenting that for families. And I love that I get to like grow up with them too. That's like one of the special parts of my job.
Yeah, well, and like you being on the other side of the camera, you get to experience that moment. And that's I'm sure something that leaves an impression on you as well. Like I'm sure you can rattle off some of your top favorite moments that you've captured that yes, you were doing your job, but they left like an impact on you.
Oh, 1,000%. The amount of times I like shed a tear behind the camera.
Aww.
I'm also like a very emotional or like wear my heart on the sleeve type of girl anyways, but I can even think of like I did a vow renewal and it was really intimate and it was at this family's house that They're Hispanic and they treated me just like family, and they had just met me, and they like served me a plate of food like in the middle of me taking pictures. They were like, just take a break, eat, and then we can take more pictures. And I'll never forget like just hearing the couple renew their vows to each other and just having no idea what I just got myself into. Like this family that's like super connected and like close to each other, and like because it was a small gathering, but their intimate family was like pretty big, and I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. It was so beautiful. And not to get too cheesy, but like I really do think that like I come from a broken home, and I think that there's almost sort of like a healing in like
Mm.
documenting families that are in love and that are like not broken. You know what I mean? And obviously every family has its drama. Like, you know, no one's perfect, but it is really like almost therapeutic for me to document.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really beautiful. Like I think that's really special because then you get to see firsthand like the potential that
Yeah.
there is out there.
Yeah. 1,000%, 1,000%. And I'm
Oh,
always like,
sweet.
yeah. And I think every family has, even no matter how much drama there is in family, I think every family can like reminisce on moments of like good times.
And photos do that. Like for Thanksgiving, we had some friends in town and they wanted to look at old photos. And the only one we could find was my parents' photo album of their wedding from the 80s.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen it in years. So it was like really special for me because like I knew all the stories, I knew everything, but to see it like through fresh eyes, like it's all looking through it,
Yeah.
it was special. Like, and I think photo will never become old because you're right. It captures a moment that you'll never see again.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. You were talking about that. From our wedding, we don't have as many pictures of us as we would like. And that was something that was really disappointing to me.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is like while we were out taking pictures, our family decided to take pictures too. And Michael's
Oh,
aunt snapped an iPhone photo, and it is literally the best photo from the whole day.
no.
And like the smile on my face, on Michael's face, it's just like pure joy, like the best photo. And that's why I'm actually glad that people have iPhones because sometimes you capture a moment without even knowing it. And that's like the power of now having a camera in your hand. Like, not saying like photographers are so valuable because they
Yeah.
have more of an artistic eye, they know
Yeah.
what to look for,
Yeah.
walking you through it. But I was so grateful that she caught that because it was literally the
Yeah.
best one from the whole day.
Yeah, I was literally, my next question for you was going to be like, what is your relationship with photographs? Because I know you also like help clients post photographs, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah, what is your relationship with like photos? And I was going to say, what is one of the most meaningful photos that you have? But
So I would say that photo personally is the most meaningful photo I have of Michael and I.
yeah,
Um, just because it's like we had always wanted to get married and we did, and it was like we did it, here it is. And as far as I think photo is still so valuable because I feel like it allows the viewer to sort of tell the story on in their head as well. It's their interpretation. So even though you may be telling them in the caption what's going on, they'll
yeah,
see it and then they can have some sort of emotional response based on whatever's going on in their life or what their life has looked like. So
yeah,
that's why I actually really love photo because it allows the viewer to sort of make that story on their own.
yeah.
And I love doing that for clients. I always tell them photo is still so powerful. Video, of course, like we're moving that way. It's sort of a new thing, even though it's not new. But I think the next new thing is probably going to be photos again.
I don't know. I've noticed even with TikTok that, you know, we feel like videos are trending more than photo, but then there's so like then you really watch in a lot of TikToks, like the main content is like photos. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
like a short little video and then photo, 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 photo. So like
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool. Just this age where we're like, I don't know, almost more people are more like there's more people are considered photographers and videographers now, I feel like, you know what I mean? With the
Yeah.
age of social media, like we're all editing videos and we all have really access to really nice cameras. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about that. Not like, yes, like I invested into my career and I have a really nice camera, but like these iPhones are no joke. Like some people have asked me like if I'm afraid of because everyone has like nice iPhones now, and I'm always like, yeah, but like you can have a nice iPhone and still not know how to take a good picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with a family. Like that it's going to be rare that you're going to get a good photo. Like you need someone there's a difference between like somebody who's just doing it because they have access and a professional that's
Yeah.
studying the craft that knows how to handle
Yeah.
the situation as well. So then I want to kind of go into more like the storytelling that you do behind photos. So like when you sit down with either a couple or a mom or the kids, like what is your main like story that you're wanting to tell when you're sitting down and helping them take these photos?
Yeah. So typically when I do like at home, like in home session is when I try to do things like this. I'm limited when I'm at a studio, but when people allow me to come into their homes, I really try to encourage, like, honestly, for them to not look at the camera ever, like to pretend like I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
I give them actions that they would normally do, like, okay, hug your baby. Okay, kiss your baby. What I love to do that I've noticed that is almost like I feel like I'm a little like not a love maker, but like reminding husband and wives to love each other. Like I'm that person that comes into someone's house and I'm like, okay, kiss each other now. Okay, kiss your wife. Okay, kiss your husband. And like a lot of the responses are like the husband is like, really? Like poor
Aw.
guy hasn't like got a kiss in a while or something. And I just like love almost just like reminding them like we're taking pictures and like this is why, like, y'all are documenting all this because of like the love that you share and that you've created this family. Like this is beautiful. And then I also try to sometimes I'll like ask them a random question, like I've asked couples just to get them like out of their shell. Like I'll be like, what's something that your partner has that you don't have? Like what trait do they have that you really like benefit from them having? And then they're always like, oh, like someone hasn't asked me that in a while, you know, and they'll think, and they always have a moment between them each other. And I try to get moments like that, honestly. And then
Hmm.
I try to be really good about like just like sneaking moments. Those are my favorite photos, when like they don't know that I'm doing this. Or like, for example, I just did a family session where like I told them, the husband and the dad and the daughter, that I was done taking pictures of them, but then they held hands and walked away from the camera. And so like I snapped some photos of like where she like just genuinely looked up at her dad and had no idea I was taking pictures, like stuff like that. I feel like I'm like really looking for. I'm just like looking for these like fleeting moments that maybe are just mundane to the family that they don't notice, that I want to like capture so they can like have.
I think that's so special because then it's not like posed,
Yeah.
and then you're getting them, like you said, you're getting them into a more emotional state. And then that's what's going to transcribe in the photos that you take. That's genius. I
Yeah.
almost think of you, you're kind of like a fairy godmother. You like come in and you're like,
I try
I'm
to
going to,
have a Mary Poppins purse.
oh, so cute.
Try to have
Yeah.
like shout wipes and like oil blotches and like bobby pins and like random stuff just for the moms, just to help the moms. And because like the baby usually, or sometimes like the mom will kiss the baby and forget she has lipstick on, and I'll be like, it's okay, I got something, you know? Like I really just have to like think ahead. But I like to tell my clients that once you're a client, I treat you like family. I just like,
Mm.
it's my Hispanic vibes. I just want to make them feel loved. That's my goal. I
And
just
I
want.
think it's important to as a photographer or anyone, who's doing a service, to earn that, to share that you can trust me.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to make you look good. I'm going to like take personal care in this to make them feel more comfortable because
Yeah.
like sometimes it can be an investment, and
Yeah.
it's like making sure that you let them know like I'm here for you, I'm on your team.
I did have a moment recently where I was doing mini sessions, Christmas mini sessions at a studio, and one of the moms just looked kind of flustered and stressed, and I thought maybe like I had done something wrong. And so after the session, I was like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" And she like took this like deep breath, and I'm like, "What is she about to say?" And she was like, I just had my baby recently. I'm just really self-conscious about my neck. She kept saying like my neck. And she was like, I just like, please just like think about that when you're picking the photos. She was like, I'm just like really self-conscious about my body right now. And I literally, my heart broke. I feel like people don't realize how much, or maybe they do, but like that's how much photographers like deal with, is not deal with, but like we really people are vulnerable with us. They want to tell us their insecurities so that like we can help them. And like honestly,
Mhm.
I encourage my clients like, hey, if you feel insecure about something, go ahead and tell me, because like everything about my job is angles. Like everyone has a bad angle. I have a bad angle. Everyone has angles that they could look bad. And then there's the good angles. And so I love having like encouraging that open communication where like the client feels like they can tell me like, hey, I always ask, what's your good side? You know, and I love
Mhm.
clients that are like, both sides are my good side. And I'm like, yes, confidence. But I love my people that are real with me too, because let's be real, majority of us are insecure about something, so.
Mm.
But yeah, that's another aspect of the job for
Well, and
sure.
I think you're right too. Like getting your picture photographed. Somebody used this analogy. Like if you were in a group photo and they show it to you, you're going to look at yourself first. Like that's what we all naturally do. We're all going to look at ourselves and we're going to see if we look good. And I think it's a vulnerable thing to have your picture taken, because there's also like, if you want to go into this, like moms, so much pressure to like bounce back after having a baby, which is
Yeah,
ridiculous. It's like
yeah,
you just had a human. Like I
yeah,
think you can wait.
yeah,
It shouldn't be about what you look like. And so I think that's special that like you have that time to speak into them where they might not be hearing that, not from like, not saying they're in a bad environment, but they might not be hearing that.
right.
They're hearing all this negativity.
It's hard, but I definitely try to be a safe place. Yeah,
Yeah. How
yeah,
special. How
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So then I do want to talk to you about just like being your own business owner a little bit, because you've been doing this for about 2 years,
Okay.
which is crazy because we've had the Market Vibe for about 2 years. July was 2 years.
Yeah.
And like, what would you say about the whole journey? Because I'm sure you know, and especially with COVID, that was like a giant wrench into everybody's business.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the journey and the ups and downs, and then like really taking that ownership of like, okay, I am the person that's the driver of this business. Like
Yeah.
I have to be the one looking for leads and like clients and then doing all of the things.
Yeah.
Talk about like your experience with all of that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So I'd say my experience has been it all goes down to like my name, Positive Pre. There is a intention behind that being the name behind my brand. And it's because like I've always just been abnormally positive since I was young. And it's been my nickname since elementary school. And basically I have this really like when people ask me what I do, I'm always like, look, it takes a certain personality to do what I do, because I don't have technically what other people have, like a stable income. But basically my mentality has always been, and I attest to this, I'm saying this out loud because I do believe that if people have this mentality that they can do what I'm doing, but you have to have the mentality that like you can do it, that everything will work out. And like I really do believe in manifesting. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be booked this month, or this is going to be my biggest month. And but also behind every intention I make, I try to like put like something physical to like back it up, to like help with that. And so recently I've found that mini sessions have been like a great way to get like make a good amount of money in one day. And it's better for my clients because I have a lot of people that maybe don't want a full 1 hour session because their kids are young. And so like grouping like a bunch of people in one day has been really cool.
I am with you about manifesting though, because I think that you don't really necessarily need to be so focused when you're in employment, because it's 2 weeks in a paycheck, it's going to happen unless you get let go or you quit for some reason.
Right.
When you're your own business owner, it is funny because I was talking to my dad about this at Thanksgiving, because he is as well.
Yeah.
You have to have a certain sort of resilience.
Yes.
And you have to be okay with choppy waters. It's like you're willingly going into, but I've been watching too much Below Deck, but you're willingly going into uncharted waters, and you're willingly going into where it's totally unknown. And you have to have a thick skin for it. You have to have a stomach for it.
Yeah.
And if you want something, you have to speak it. Cause I'm so with you. Like Michael's always like, you're so good at manifesting. You say things and they happen.
Yeah.
And it's just about like watching your words and putting out there what you want, but then not just sitting around and being like, I hope it happens. You have to have some action behind it.
Yeah. I've found that like, I've actually had to make boundaries in my business to balance my work to life ratio. I've found that I tend to be a workaholic. almost.
Same.
So I haven't run into like even a slow season, which I like feel crazy saying that out loud. I'm like, I don't want to jinx myself, but because I feel like the work keeps coming now, I'm at a point where I can like, I'm making boundaries. And I would say, I guess that's really the key to being your own boss is like boundaries and like giving yourself a time to time every day that you will work and then time that you'll stop working. I actually struggle with that. I need to do better.
Same, girl, preach.
I can just like stay on my computer all day, but then at the end of the day, my eyes hurt so bad. I don't know if anyone else relates to that. I have blue light glasses and they do work, but sometimes I can't use them because they have a warm tint. And when I'm editing color, I can't like have the color.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. So it's like, I'm like, dang it. Anyway, but yeah, I would say that also the key to success is like balance and like boundaries. Like you get to a point where you can say like, tell your clients like this is when I'm available. Instead, I feel like for so long I was like, okay, so when do you need me? When do you need me? And now I'm at the point where I'm like, well, these are the days that I can do this. Work around my schedule, you know, and that has been a huge game changer for like my mental health.
Yeah.
Setting boundaries and me like being more strict with like my schedule.
I think I'm so glad you brought that up because Michael and I literally just had this conversation last night. We were like, all we do is work. We really need to figure it out. Yeah. And I think every entrepreneur, business owner goes through this because I think what happens is we take the employee initiative that we are drilled into our entire life, which is like, if you work hard, you will get these results. But we're not taught that you also need to have time for yourself. You need to have like an outside life, and it's okay, you know, because I think I'm sure you're the same way. Like I have an endless list. It never goes away. It replenishes every week. Yeah. And I think you just get into the point where you figure out you have to have a schedule, you have to have time management and work efficiently. And then you have to have time off for yourself. Like your business isn't going to implode if you decide to stop at 6. It's probably going to be healthier and better. You're not going to burn yourself out if you stop at 6. Yeah. And like, yeah, I'm the same way. Michael's the same way. He'll work all night. If he can't sleep because he gets insomnia sometimes, I'll work like all day and I'll work at night sometimes. Sometimes my clients get emails from me at like 9:00 and they're like, what are you doing? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I got a second wind. But yeah, definitely the boundaries and it's okay to have a life.
Yeah, I've had to refrain, like sending people their galleries at like 2 a.m. I'll be like, no, I don't want them to know. I don't want them to know. I'll send it in the morning, you know, but I totally relate to that for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on here. I love your perspective. I love you're totally positive, Pri. That is so fitting for you. And if there's somebody who's like wanting to get into photography or like wanting to start their own business, like what are some steps that you would recommend that they do first to like really start going full time?
I would say, and I know some people might make up excuses not to do this, but this will really help you is start a bank account. I wish someone had told me that like sooner, or start a bank account for just your business so that when the end of the year, it's so much easier to do your taxes if you had used that one card for everything business related. I think that's something that maybe a lot of people are afraid to be their own boss is like the taxes and whatnot. But like if you give yourself that, like that makes your life so much easier when it's tax season. If you had just used that one, like you use that card for every time you get paid, make sure the money goes to that card. And when every time you're spending anything business, use that card. I think that's a great tip. As far as photography goes, I would say if you want to get into it and you haven't yet, I would say like offer free photo shoots, but be strategic.
Yeah.
Tell them what to wear and choose the location and really think about where they're going to be, because whatever you end up posting, you're going to attract that type of clients. So like even I do a lot of photos. Careful with what I choose to post because I know what I'm posting is what I'm going to attract. And sometimes I'll do things for clients that maybe I don't want to do all the time, all year round. And so, you know, you just be strategic, like whatever you're putting out, you're going to attract that. So make sure you're attracting what you want.
That's smart. I never thought about that. So if somebody was like, oh, I want to be rappelling along this ledge, maybe you don't post that.
Yeah, for real. Or like I've done like boudoir photos for some personal clients of mine, because to me, if a woman asked me to take her boudoir photos, that means she trusts me. And so I'm like, I don't take that for granted. So I'm like, of course. But like, I wouldn't advertise on Instagram that I do that because like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not what I want to attract. You know what I mean? I want it
Mm,
to be more family. So yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, Bree, thank you so much for coming on here. And this
Sure.
conversation was awesome. If people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
Go to positiveprephotos.com and you can fill out my contact form if you want to inquire. And then my Instagram is at positiveprephotos if you want to DM me. If for any photographers that, or like anybody that has questions about how I run a business, please feel free to DM me. I'm like an open book. So
I
yeah.
love it. Well, thanks so much. This was
Thanks for
great.
having me. It's so
Yeah.
good talking to you.